I'm Sarah. We're here to do a short video for some strengthening. So I'm going to show you some exercises and show you a little bit of modifications for each exercise. But this is a way to show you how at home with little to no equipment, you can do some strengthening resistance exercise to build up some functional strength. This video in particular focuses on the lower body, and so we'll do a little bit of warm up first, then we'll get into some exercises. The equipment I have is a chair, a mat, and then some weights, a dumbbell, or if you don't have a dumbbell, then you can use certainly a water bottle or something else that's kind of easy to grab. So, as I said, not a lot of equipment necessary. There's tons of things you can do to build up some of the lower body strength. So hopefully you've read your safety guidelines or reviewed them. But we just want to point out, know your limitations. So we don't need to overdo it, especially if you're a beginner. Have the movement first without any weight, without any, undue pressure, because your body needs to learn the movement first. We want to make sure you can move within a full range of motion. You don't overdo it. And so we're going to leave that up to you to start slow and to pace yourself and to really listen to the feedback that your body's giving you. The other thing is breathing. Breathing's very important. So we want to make sure that no one's holding their breath or having some tension that's unnecessary. Put all the tension in the muscle part where we're trying, not the rest of your body. And then the last part is just to kind of have fun with it. No expectation here. We're just trying to learn. We're trying to get stronger. We're trying to feel good. So that's what we'll start with. First off though, as I said, breathing, very important. So no matter what, you want to kind of get your mind and your body connected. A deep breathing exercise is really important for that. So you can either put your hands on your belly, maybe your hands on your rib cage, somewhere where you can feel that deep inhalation, exhalation as you're warming up and kind of getting yourself focused on your exercise. So if you want to close your eyes, stand with your feet about shoulder width apart, or even sit in the chair if you feel like that's more comfortable for you. And then just take some deep inhales through your nose and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit of expansion on the inhale, even if it's through the back, through the belly, through the sides, and a little bit of relaxation, maybe in some tense parts on the exhale. A lot of times that's the neck, the shoulders, the jaw. And then you can open your eyes, and we're going to do a little bit more active breathing here. This is going to open up the chest. And so bringing out the arms as you inhale, maybe bringing the hands back on the belly as you exhale. This will help with some range of motion with your upper body. And exhaling, inhaling, and exhaling. If you're working on increasing some overhead reach range of motion, you can certainly try to open up that movement a little bit higher. But really the purpose of this is just to kind of get yourself centered for what we're about to do. Good, and then bring it back down. And then we're going to start with getting some blood flow to the legs, giving a little march. Again, if I'm feeling a little unsteady, I can definitely hold on to a sturdy chair. This chair here, we're going to use in some of our exercises too. So if you have a chair that's usable at home, this is part of your equipment too. And so as we're marching, we're just trying to keep in good posture, keep that breathing that we've practiced going, try not to lean too much side to side. And then we're going to add a little bit of an element of hip rotation. So it's almost like you're stepping over something, stepping back. Lift that knee. It doesn't have to be real high if it can't be. You can kind of just think about the limitation of what feels secure. So again, we're not overdoing it. If you're holding onto a chair, I would suggest kind of thinking about not depending on the chair. So just doing a little bit of confidence work here. The chair's here for confidence, but not to do the whole thing. So So we've got a little rotation going. Just kind of open up those hips. Good. And then the last little warm up we'll do is a stretch for the hip flexors and the quadriceps. So right in the front of this hip area. So if you could stand with your legs in kind of a stride position as far apart as you can, and really try to avoid overextending the back or arching the back. What I want you to do is kind of pull in your belly, and you see how that kind of stretches. So as we do that, we're just going to kind of take some deep breaths and feel the stretch. My back heel is up. You're welcome to do that, or if you want to keep it down, you can. Everybody's got a little bit different preference on that. But as we hold that stretch, we're just trying to open up some of the tightness that can happen when we have prolonged sitting, whether we're sitting in a car for a while, sitting at a desk for a while, or even just sitting watching Netflix. So just giving a nice easy stretch there. Then we'll do the other side. So we've got a stride step again, nice tall posture, shoulders over your hips, and then just kind of pull in that, kind of tuck in the tailbone, pull in the belly button, and feel the stretch there. If you feel like you want that heel up in the back, that's fine. And as you feel the stretch, just kind of deep breathing lets you relax into that stretch and lets your body know that it's okay to do that stretch. You don't want to fight against it. There we go, so we're ready to go. So our first exercise is the basic squat. And this is a lot of what we do functionally. We sit in a chair, we sit on the toilet, we sit in a car, we get up from those chairs, so we want to make sure that we're not depending too much on our upper body. Sometimes we can't depend on our upper body, so we got to depend on the lower body. And so this is like the most basic thing that you can do to kind of build up your functional strength. I'm going to start with a weight. If you want to kind of, if you feel like this is going to be an easier exercise for you to perform, you can hold some extra weight in your hand. If you don't want to, that's fine too. And then we can also do this for a chair. So I'll show you all three of them. So you've got the weight close to your chest. You're going to stand with your feet apart, a little bit wider than they're normally. And then I want you to think about a hinge at your hip. So you've got a little bit of a hinge, almost like you're sitting on a stool. And then you're going to bend your knees as a result of that. Keep your gaze forward and bring it back up. Down and up. Making sure you keep the breathing. And go down just as far as you can where you feel a little bit of a challenge. So we want to get uncomfortable with just that little boundary of tension, maybe a little bit of muscle action that you're not used to. That's where we're going to make the most progress. So we've done about 5 repetitions, and you can keep going if you want to keep doing it this way, but I'm going to perform some of these with the chair. Make sure you're moving at a pace that feels good for you. There's no need to rush it. Sometimes going faster is a little bit more of a challenge, so if you want an aerobic challenge, you certainly can do that. But I would say control is the name of the game here. So if I'm in a chair and I really want to get a good lift, I don't want to focus on the arms, so I either cross my arms over my chest or out in front of me, and I'm going to just transfer my weight to my feet and let my legs do all the work. So you notice I'm going slow up and I'm going slow down. The slow down's a little bit harder because usually we plop. So that slow down movement is almost like I'm putting on the brakes. I'm in control of how gravity is trying to pull me to the chair. So as we're doing this, I'll do one more. And if you've continued to do squats, then your legs probably maybe talking to you a little bit. So let's come up from that, shake it out, and we'll do a little bit of a transition here. So the next exercise, giving yourself a little bit of rest in between the two is helpful, but not too much rest because you want to kind of keep that challenge on the muscles. The next exercise is going to be a lunge. So this is important for Some people think lunge is a dirty word, but this is really important for functions like getting down and up off the floor. So if I have trouble doing that, imagine if for some reason I fall and I'm on the ground, I really want to be able to use my body and my muscles to lift myself up. And it's not always easy to do. It's like, if I'm just trying to do it, I can't do it. So now we're going to condition to do it. We're going to train to get better at getting on the floor. So we're in that split stance again that we did in the warm-up. And I want you to think about how far you can get your front and your back legs from each other. So a really wide stance. It's going to help with some of the knee discomfort that sometimes people feel. I've got my back heel up, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a dip and up. Now in this, I'm going to hold on to the chair, but if you want a little bit of a balance challenge and you feel confident in your balance, you can take your arms away. And so that little dip is my hips, again, right in the middle of my 2 feet, so I don't go forward. It's not like a race we're starting. And again, my posture is upright. So my neck and my shoulders don't have to do any work here. They just have to stay right above my hips. So you'll be feeling some stretch through here, and you'll hopefully feel a little bit of work in the front leg. Because if I'm pushing in on that heel in front, I really feel it in that kind of that seat area, my glute and my hamstring. So this one was about 10. Not a great counter, so don't hold me to that. Talking and counting, not my thing, but we gotta be balanced. So let's go on the other side. So now we've got a split stance, as much as we're comfortable with. We've got our support if we need it. Shoulders are right above your hips, feeling balanced in the middle of those 2 feet. And then we're gonna start slow. So let's just kind of think, how far down do we feel like we can go? That seemed easy. So now I'm gonna go a little bit farther. Ooh, that was a little bit more challenge. So what I'm doing here is I'm figuring out where my boundary is. And that's how you can make this personal to you. I'm giving you the tools of what to do, but you've really got to kind of control the dial there. So you make sure, if you can look straight ahead, that's always great, because it helps with your balance. I have to look at you, but breathing, making sure your posture's good, that helps you keep your focus on what you're doing so that you can get the best quality out of each of the movements. So I'm going to try one more, because I'm going to bet that that's 10, and then bring it up. If you're feeling like that might be a little too hard, there's a little way to hack that. If you have a chair like this that doesn't have any arms to it. So you can get seated on the side of the chair, kind of, honestly, I have one cheek on, one cheek off, we'll say it that way. And then you can slide this down. So you see how I get that stretch here? I can hold on here. My body weight's supported by the chair. I can put my weight into the front, and I can just lift myself up. Then I can lower myself down. So again, I know that chair is there, so my confidence builds. I can make sure that I'm focused on what I really need to focus on, rather than worried I'm gonna fall. So that's just a little bit of a way to modify that one. We're gonna start to narrow it down to specific muscles. So we started with a squat that uses a lot of the lower body muscles all together. Lunge, same thing. And now we're going just a little bit more specific. So we're going to target the front of the thigh, the quadricep. And you can do this seated, or you can do it standing, whichever you feel like you want to do. They're equally challenging, so you just do whatever's comfortable for you. So if I'm sitting, I'm trying to sit on the edge of the chair. That gives me a little bit more work in my core muscles and my posture muscles, the endurance of standing for long periods of time or walking or anything like that. If that's too tough, scoot yourself back and relax onto the chair, get some support. It's really kind of up to you. But this is just going to be a leg extension. So you've got one leg, straighten your leg out, lower it down. It's just a straightening, kind of a kick, and lowering down. This is pretty simple in that there's not a lot of moving parts to it, but that means you just have to focus that much more on not doing things to help out, meaning, you know, my shoulders come up, I hold my breath. You know, these are trip ups that sometimes happen, but if you're aware enough of them, then you can kind of be present in doing it the right way. So we're going to do 10 on one side, and again, I'm kind of going up at about a 2 or 3 count, coming down at the same rate of speed. We'll try one more on this right side. And then again with the left. And on the left here, I'm just going to show you some variations. You can keep going the way you're going, but you can also think about maybe slowing down even more, which sometimes makes it much harder because you really feel that muscle shaking. Or you could go quicker and then come down slow. If you're a soccer player, you might want a quick kick there. So that's more of a training. But sometimes you just get bored with it and you want to do some things different. The muscles like variety, so as long as you're under control, you can always do that differently. We'll try one more. Good. So that was a set of 10 for each of those. And then I'm going to start to introduce multiple sets. So doing 10 may or may not be challenging. What I like to tell people is repetition 1, 2, 3 should not feel as easy as repetition 8, 9, 10. If it does, then you know you have to mix it up a little bit. Maybe give yourself a different challenge. You can certainly add more repetitions to it, but if you just keep adding, you're going to be kind of adding more time to your workout time. And if we want to kind of keep this pretty efficient, then what's another way we can do that? Well, you can slow things down, like I mentioned on the previous set, or you can just rest a second and then add a second set. So this will be the same type of exercise, but I'm doing it a little differently. We're going to target some of the muscles on the inner part of the thigh, which a lot of times are weak because we tend to have our feet turned out. So we have some tightness here and some weakness here. And all that really involves is just turning your foot out a little bit as you do this. So you're going to straighten your leg with your toe pointing at a diagonal and then back down. At a diagonal and then back down. So I don't really have a full bend in, although you can if you want, but this one is just trying to focus more on this inner part of the thigh. And if you're sitting upright without that back support, you're really feeling that work up into your core muscles right around in the obliques here and the lower abdominal area. I'm not breathing as well as I should because I'm talking, but I know you are, so just remember you want to just keep that nice even breathing. We'll do 2 more on this side. I've got maybe an internal clock for 10 repetitions, I don't know. Good. And then we'll try the other side. So you've got your position, you're going to get in your breathing, lift and lower. Lift and lower. So I've got a little bit of a bend in my knee so that I can access that inner thigh, lifting as much as I can. So if I can't get it lifted that high, then I don't push it. Because if I try and go too much, you see what happens is my body makes a little bit of a adjustment. And that's not always the best thing for either your back or how you're seating, or sitting. Good. Breathing as you lift, breathing out, in as you go down. Try one more, and onto that. Good, so we've targeted the front of the thigh. That's going to be more specific, and then we need to be balanced. So now we're going to target the back of the thigh. And this is going to involve getting onto the floor. So we've got this mat here, and if I want assistance getting onto the floor, there's nothing wrong with that. Safety is first thing. The best way to get onto the floor is to find what you're gonna put your hand and your upper body on. And then usually people have a dominant side, but you're just gonna lower to one knee, maybe the next. Maybe you have to put both hands down at that point, and then you're down to the floor. When you get back up, you just go the opposite of what you just did. Here, and then up. So if you're working on that transition and you find a way to do this safely, consider that a strength leg exercise, because it's not easy to do to get onto the floor. So the last exercise we're going over here is for our hamstrings, and this is a bridge. So I want you to be able to lie on your back with your knees bent. And if you need something under your neck or your head to support yourself, that's great. You be comfortable in this one. So we don't want to get into a position where the tension is not about the exercise we're doing. So as I'm laying here and my knees are bent, I can either have my feet in close by or far away, and that's going to be a choice up to you. We'll try a couple different ways, and you can kind of see what works more effectively. But again, we're talking about a little bit of a tuck of your tailbone. This is a posterior pelvic tilt. You want to kind of pull that belly button in and support the spine and the pelvis. And then a bridge is just pressing your feet into the floor and lifting your seat up off of the ground. And as I do that, I'm getting some action in the back of my thighs, in my seat, and in my core. And then I slowly lower it down. Again, nice easy landing on the mat. So lifting up, there's no need to hit your belly button to the ceiling. You want control as you come up, slowly lower it down. So if you're feeling like you want to work more kind of in the seat area, the butt area, then you can bring in your heels a little bit closer. And as you lift up, you can give a little squeeze to those muscles and then lower it back down. If you feel like you want more of the hamstrings, the back of the thigh, then walk your feet away a little bit. You might even feel like a little bit of a cramp there. So you know if you get that, you've just come out of the gate with so much intensity, you got to kind of pull back on that. But you will feel some of that muscle action in the hamstrings. So it's up to you how you want to target this exercise. But the one thing that I will say is if you do start to feel it in your lower back, then kind of reassess how you're holding your abdominal muscles and also how high you're lifting. When you start to arch your back too much and push in on your toes, that can pull all the intensity to your lower back, and you want to avoid that. It just gets uncomfortable. It's not great for the spine. So as we're lifting and lowering, we're wrapping up this set. In our last one, and then bring it back down. If I want to make that a little harder, you can do variations. So I might be able to lift up, hold it there for a little bit. Maybe I can take one leg, and that doubles the intensity right there. You can imagine you don't want to jump to that one right away. Take the other leg, and then bring it back down, slowly back down. So there's ways to kind of give a little variety to that too. Okay, so now that we've done those and we're wrapping it up, we want to do a couple deep breaths here. You can put your hands on your belly. Get yourself centered. This is your time where you're congratulating yourself because you're so strong and doing well. And then I'm just going to have you do a little bit of a knee hug. You can hug one knee in, stretch the other one out, or you can hug both knees in and just kind of roll back and forth if you feel like you have some tension in your low back. I'm going to do the other one just so I'm balanced. This is a nice one because when you do things one at a time, you open up a little bit more movement to be able to pull that knee in closer. And I'm pressing my leg down on the floor so I get a nice stretch through here. It feels pretty good. And then, this might be in the way, but a nice easy side to side. So if you can keep your shoulders, even your arms on the ground, and then just roll the knees to the side, and then over to the other side, feeling a nice stretch through the hips, giving your legs the love it deserves because they've worked hard for you with these last exercises. Good. And then just as we did when we got down on the floor, you're just going to roll to the side, push yourself up, get yourself to all fours, get over to your trusty chair. Slowly but surely come on up, even if you have to depend on the chair a little bit more than you probably plan to, because the legs kind of might be a little shaky. And then voila, you're done. So that's lower body.